Om Ragadirogan Satatanushaktan Asheshakaya Prashitan Asheshan Autsukyamoharatidan Jakana Yo Purvavaidyaya Namostu Tasmai Atato Ayushkami Yamadhyaya Vyakyasya Itihasmahuratreya Maharshaya Ayokamayamaneena Dharmartha Sukhasadanam Ayurvedopadesheshu Videya Paramadara Brahma Smritvayusho Vedam Prajapatim Ajigrahat Soshvinautau Sahasraksham Sotriputradikam Munim Tegniveshadikam Stetu Prataktam Tranite Nire Tebhyoti Viprakirnebhya Prayasarataronchaya Kriyate Aṣṭāṅga Hṛdayam Nati Sankshepa Vistaram Kaya Balagrahortvanga Shalyadam Strajaravrasham Ashtavangani Tasyahu Chikitsayeshu Samshrita Vayopitam Kapascheti Trayodosha Samasata Vikrita Vikrita Deham Gnanti Te Vartayanti Cha Te Vyapnopi Hrnabhyor Adumadyor Dvasamshraya Vayoratri Bhuktanam Tentamadhyatiga Krama Dhairbhaved Vishamastikshno Mandaschagni Samai Samaha Koshtakrurur Mridur Madhyor Madhyasyatai Samairapi Shukrartavaistain Madhav Vishneva Vishakrime Taischatisra Prakritayo Hinamadyo Tamapratak Samadatu Samastasu Shreshtanindya Dvidoshaja Tatra rUkSo laghuH shItaH Khara Sukshma chalo nila Namaste. Today we are going to talk about the Gunas of Vata, Dhatu, not dosha. Usually this last line is translated as Vata has the attributes or the qualities of dry, light, cold, rough, whatever, subtle, mobile, and that's are the basic Gunas, qualities of Vata according to Aṣṭāṅga Hṛdaya Sutra Sthana, Chapter 1, Ayushkami Yamadhyaya, Shloka 10, depending on how you're counting. So, if you take almost any book that you like in Ayurveda, in English or in Portuguese. I'm speaking from Brazil. My name is Thiago. Namaste. This is a channel mainly in Portuguese, but we have here and there some videos in English. This talk is included in a playlist in the description called Namaste Speak Softly, because here we are not speaking boldly, but there is another playlist also in the description of Namaste Speaks Boldly. And probably in the end, there's going to be the screens for that. The main point is that I was preparing myself for a Sanskrit class that I was going to take for the third time in this shloka with my teacher, Professor Ramadas from Amruta School of Ayurveda. Since 2017, 18, when we first met and started taking classes in Sânscrito and by Zoom and so on, the very first class that we had in 2017 or 18 was about this shloka. And we also had the class on Pitta and Kapha. Prior, we started our formal studies in chapter 1, and then we went through. I had this class kind of 2 or 3 times. In 2017, 2020, and now 2022. And we give a course in Ayurveda in Portuguese that is called Ashwini Ayurveda. And the second chapter of this course, it goes to a detailed study on the Gunas of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Here we are going to speak few minutes on what we believe to be a much more interesting interpretation of the word rUkSo, the word Laghu, and so on. For the past maybe 2 or 3 months, I have been listening Dr. Satyajit Kakal from Dhanvantari Vacha with his live satsangs and so on. And he was a day explaining about the Gunas of Ojas. It was a great class, and it's available on his podcast and blog, Dhanvantari Vacha. It's good material. And his main point there was that we cannot translate the same shItaH that is describing Ojas as the same shItaH that is describing Kapha, as the same shItaH that is describing Vata, and so on. We have to make an effort to customize, to render that sphere of possibilities into a functional system. So, I'm not going to say that rUkSo is this. I'm going to say that rUkSo, in the context of the shloka, tatra rUkSo laghuH shItaH Khara Sukshma chalonila, can be understood better as unobstructed. I'm going to say that Laghu can be better translated as without attachment. I'm going to say that shItaH can be better understood as impersonal. I'm going to say that Khara can be better understood as frictioning, consuming. I'm going to say that Sukshma can be better understood as trespassing or passing through pores. I'm going to say that Chala can be better understood as initiating, igniting. And I'm going also to say that Katina can be better understood as hammering or waking up from coma states. And finally, Anila, I'm going to say that can be better understood as gaseous, all-pervading. This was an overview. If you say that it's too heterodox for yourself, you can just say bye-bye, namaste, thanks for watching. But if you were provoked by those translations, spend more like 3-5 minutes so we can move along. What is the idea? The idea is that we are assuming Vata as mainly the nervous system. And we are realizing it through these aspects. So let's go like this. The nervous system works like that. If the command is unobstructed, if there is no much water damping the flow of electricity, the electricity will flow better in a place where there is low humidity, in a desert instead of in a swamp, instead of in a jungle. This is the idea of rUkSo in Vata. The nervous system depends on a low level of humidity. If there is too much humidity, he is not going to go through it. He is going to decrease its power, just like the sun ray, when it's in the atmosphere and goes into the water, it loses power. Vata depends on a certain level of low humidity to work through the nervous system. Laghu, without attachment. That means that the nervous system sometimes is acting in this place, saying, now you're going to be hungry. Your samana vayu is going to be predominant and so. And in another moment, he's going to say, oh, now your prana vayu, dana vayu, apana vayu, vyana vayu is going to be proeminent and it's going to take charge of the throne of the Vata. So Vata has to be unattached. One time he has to be happily working in one station. Another time he has to move and go to sit in another station and say, now I'm going to charge this place and I'm not going to be missing and feeling sad or feeling saudade because of I am not now in the throne of prana vayu anymore and I am in the throne of vyana vayu or whatever. Laghu, shItaH. shItaH here we are going to take as impersonal. That means that the feelings and the sensations should not overcome the central nervous system. Oh, I'm feeling that today I don't want to wake up. I'm feeling sad. If the nervous system is too much affected by your sensations and feelings and doesn't keep the track, the system will fall. So it kind of has to be impersonal in the sense that, oh, now I'm feeling like this, now I'm with the emotion like that. And the nervous system say, go on, keep moving. Just keep walking. Keep the Vata on the track. So this means shItaH here in the context of an interpretation of the nervous system. Khara. Khara means that when electricity goes through, it kind of spoils, it kind of consumes, spoil is not a good word, consumes the pathway that it's going through. So electricity is going to destroy the way in which it is acting. And if we don't restore this pathway, it's going to crash. Every time that electrons are frictioning the system, the system is kind of dying because of this lekhana, because of this scrapping activity that the nervous system will do to exist by itself. Next, Sukshma, that's the most terrible one. Usually translated as subtle, but we understand this like this. There is a wall here, okay? If I put my finger on the wall, probably it's not going to pass. But if it passes, it's because it's Sukshma. If the pores, the spaces that are present here in this wall, I can go through it without crushing it. This is the idea the real idea of Sukshma in Ayurveda. So, for example, there is a internet Wi-Fi router there. If the door is closed, the sign is going to crash, diminish a little bit, but it's still going to come through because it can go through the pores of the door. Of course, if it's a door specifically designed to block this, it's not going to go through. But Sukshma is the idea that it goes through the membranes without breaking the pores, breaking the doors, breaking the membranes. So here we can say this as trespassing, but trespassing through the wall, through the gate, and not crashing to pass by. This is more Tikshna ability. Chala usually is badly translated as mobile, but we can understand Chala as activating. Now, there was an electric impulse to my heart. Now there was an electric impulse to my heart. Now there was an electric impulse to my heart. Now there was an electric impulse to my heart. Every time that the electric impulse is keeping my heart beating. Chala is enlivening, is activating, is turning the key on so the system can keep alive. When we turn on the key in our car, it's just one time, and if you just go more, it's going to... But for Vata, it's just like every time we are turning on the car. And when the moment we stop to turn on the car, immediately the car stops, shuts down. So that's the idea of Chala. It's giving impulses to a place. And when it stops giving in that direction and gives in another direction, the system that was awake starts to sleep, and the system that was sleepy starts to awake. One more. Kartina. Kartina, we are going to say that it's like if the impulse can activate the system in a smooth manner, it doesn't have to give more pressure so that the system realizes that the push is being hammered there. Okay, so Kartina is not actually hard in the interpretation of a nervous system. Kartina is giving a strong impulse so that the system kind of reacts. It's not all the time like that. Sometimes it's just Chala, sometimes it's Kartina, just like when you're going to vomit. If the impulse is not really hammering your system, it's not going to vomit because it has to have a strong urge to create this pressure. And I know that Kartina was not there, but whatever. There was also Vyavai and others, but usually these are the main ones that appear in Ayurvedic texts in the West and so on. And Anila. So finally, we are taking this interpretation because the main word in this shloka, it's something that it's all pervading. Anila, we can say that is a kind of gaseous, electrical form of Vata. So here, because the word Anila is being taken in the context, we are supporting our view that this can be modernly translated as a nervous system because the word Anila is there. And we have more than just our wish to say that Vata is the nervous system, but we are taking the idea that it's just like when you open a bottle of gas here, all the environment is permeated with this gas. Anila is permeating all our body with the nervous system and the gaseous form. But the gaseous forms another topic. It's a Ayurvedic revolution in the way that we see Vata. But for today, we are not going there. Leave it to another talk. So the the way that this shloka has to be read from the prose order is tatra, anila, rUkSo, laghuH, shItaH, Khara, Sukshma, chala. We can put katina also, cha, bhavati. This is for people that learn Sanskrit and know what anvaya is. Okay, so this video was because I did not have my class of Sanskrit today. I'm going to have soon. And since in English we don't have much of this material that we give in Portuguese, it's a provocation if you want to have access to an Ayurveda that makes much more sense and work much more without having to be with the Ayurvedic herbs and drugs and so on. Our school of thought believes that we can bring back an Ayurveda that wakes up in the Brahma Muhurta, knowing why it's so important, and not just on the basis of faith. Faith is important, but that's not all. And living in a non-electrical way, in the sense that we sleep 1, 2, 3 hours after the sun is set, and we wake up 1, 2, 3 hours before the sun rises. And this is real, ancestral, effective Ayurveda. Okay? So if you like this kind of crazy thoughts, please join us in our Ayurvedic group that we are forming to create the first class, the first group of Ashwini Ayurveda in English. It's a 9 months pregnancy for the first for the first chapter, and our belief is that we need to study Ayurveda for like 5-6 years to have a basic background of Ayurveda. 12 years to have a proper one. I'm now studying since 2010. I'm completing my first 12 years of my first round, Jupiterian round of Ayurveda. So it's time to start to invite you, the people that speak in English and don't speak Portuguese, to our Sangha that we have more than 100 people in Brazil and the world that already are studying with us in our Portuguese version of Ashwini Ayurveda. But slowly and gradually, we are starting to show ourselves to English audience. Okay? Thanks for watching. If you thought that this video brought you some value, please share with people, because now it's English and now you can share. I'm Thiago Namaste. This is June 16, 2022 from Brazil. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhamvantaraye Amrita Kalasha Hastaya Sarva Maya Vinashanaya Trailokya Nathaya Sarveshwaraya Om Shri Mahavishnave Namah. Om. Namaste.